Meanwhile, back in Sonic's story, the three amigos arrive in the present where Eggman has Princess Elise captured on board the Radical train. He rescues her again, but they are stopped yet again by Silver, causing the princess to be captured yet again by Eggman. Silver can't seem to catch a break though, because as he's about to finish Sonic off, Shadow jumps in the way. Silver mistakes him for Mephiles and addresses him as such. Shadow tells Silver that he's not Mephiles, and the two fight, allowing Sonic to go after the princess. So let's go back a bit. After Shadow stays behind in the future to fight Mephiles, we see Rouge arriving back in the present and noticing that Shadow is no longer with her. She then has the brilliant idea to find Omega and give him her Chaos Emerald, since he's a robot and they found him in standby mode earlier in the game. So, back in the future, Mephiles reveals to Shadow that after Iblis gets released, humanity will blame Shadow because they're jealous of his power, thus giving them an excuse to hunt him down. Shadow tells Mephiles to suck it and the two fight. Omega then shows up providing backup, and after a hard thrashing, Mephiles flees with Shadow and Omega following through the portal. Shadow then hurries to the station to find Dr. Eggman, and hey, there was a vent here before and now it's gone. I find it hard to believe that this was destroyed in the 10 minutes between Shadow getting here and Sonic getting here. Anyway, Shadow blows up most of Eggman's train and tries to ask him what the hell is going on, but Eggman is less than useless, so he decides he might as well go and save Sonic's ass while he's there. So that's us caught up on Shadow. Back in Silver's story, after he tries and fails to kill Sonic the first time, Silver meets up with Blaze and the two sneak into Dr. Eggman's base on the White Acropolis, where they hope to find some information as to what the hell is going on. They don't find that though, but they do find a Chaos Emerald. The blue one, no less. So I guess that's something, but why would Eggman just discard the emerald after transporting Sonic, Tails and Knuckles to the future? It doesn't make sense. So meanwhile, Amy has snuck into the base and comes across Elise, who she saves out of her good nature, blissfully unaware of the supposed chemistry between her and Sonic. Video game logic, people. Apparently saving someone from an evil genius scientist bypasses the need for an actual connection. So Amy escorts Elise back to the palace, where she is immediately captured again. Oh look, Silver and Blaze found Mephiles. Silver questions Mephiles, asking why Sonic wants to destroy the world, but Mephiles won't answer him. He tells Silver that Sonic is at the station, so Silver chases the train, and that's where our three hedgehogs collide for the first time. So Sonic catches up to Eggman, but Elise decides she's had enough of being the most useless character in the Sonic franchise and decides to commit suicide.
Yay!
Only to be caught by Sonic.
Boo!
And the two escape into the jungle. Later, Eggman returns to Soliana and threatens to completely level the city unless Elise surrenders herself. Elise decides to take responsibility for once in her fucking life and cooperate for the safety of her people. Sonic and Tails chase them into Kingdom Valley, where he has to pass 3 trials in order to get in. The first is just a simple memory test, though it can make you a bit dizzy. The second requires you to beat a load of robots with no rings. During my first playthrough, I hated this mission because failing at it enough times booted me right back to the start of the chapter where I had to start all over again. I discovered that you can actually save manually inside the hub worlds, and this redeemed it completely, because all you have to do is do the first trial, save, and then start from there if you fail. You still have to sit through about 50 million loading screens though, but this game makes you wait around so much that you just kinda get used to it. I'm looking at you, Iblis's giant flaming cock. The third trial is possibly the easiest thing ever devised if you know how it works. It's called the Test of Love, and you basically have to choose whether Sonic should be with Elise or Amy. If I were in Sonic's shoes, I'd probably have chosen neither of them, but that wasn't an option, so I picked Amy, because while no one likes an obsessive stalker, at least when Sonic was about to be slaughtered by a psychokinetic maniac, she stuck her neck out for him. That's more than can be said for Elise, who...
I don't care what happens to the world.
What the fuck?
Took the words right out of my mouth, Mike. It doesn't actually matter who you choose because it has no impact on the rest of the game. It's merely there as a sort of fan service thing which awards you an automatic S rank just for doing it. Yeah, the ranking system is back in this game and they've introduced the new S rank which is higher than the A, but they've also gotten rid of the E rank, so I guess it's basically the same. Just like in Knight's Journey of Dreams, my scores were all across the board because the difficulty in this game goes up and down quite sporadically. So Sonic chases the egg carrier through Kingdom Valley with the help of Silver, who is no longer trying to kill Sonic. Okay, so rewind again back to where we left Shadow and Silver brawling. Shadow kicks Silver's ass without even breaking a sweat, but Silver is so determined to save the future that he somehow induces a chaos control. Shadow tells Silver that Mephiles is lying to him, and to see the truth they must travel back in time 10 years to find out how Iblis came to be. So they arrive in the past where the Duke of Soliana is experimenting on Solaris, the Eternal Flame. This event also happens to fall on Bring Your Daughter to Work Day because Elise is here as well. The experiment goes horribly wrong and Solaris splits into Iblis and Mephiles. Silver goes after Iblis while Shadow goes after Mephiles with the Scepter of Darkness which the Duke gives to him, so I guess it's a family heirloom or something? Shadow seals Mephiles, who asks him his name. Shadow rather arrogantly does the whole "I'm Shadow, Shadow the Hedgehog" thing, and Mephiles swears never to forget his name or form, thus explaining why Mephiles knew Shadow when he first manifested himself in his shade. Silver has no vessel to seal Iblis in, so the Duke offers up his daughter because her royal blood somehow makes her the ideal vessel. Before he dies from his injuries, he tries to put a subliminal message through to Elise saying that if she ever cries, this will release Iblis. I find it hard to believe that an 8-year-old girl could wake up, discover that her father was dead, and not cry. Though, saying that, her dad was kind of a dick. I guess I'll allow it. Silver gives her the blue Chaos Emerald as a lucky charm, and Shadow leaves the Scepter of Darkness behind. They then return to the present, where Shadow goes after Mephiles again, and Silver, now knowing the truth, decides to help Sonic because he's not the Iblis trigger. Well, he kind of is, but we'll get to that. Oh, by the way, Silver also has to do 3 bullshit trials, albeit different ones to the ones Sonic faced. These were a lot easier, I will admit. Sonic, Silver and Blaze chase the egg carrier through Kingdom Valley and manage to catch up with it. The egg carrier then starts malfunctioning for reasons that are never explained and crashes, killing Elise and Eggman in the process.
Yay!
But wait, Elise can't be dead because Iblis hasn't been released. Oh, whatever. Sonic and Silver induce Chaos Control and travel back in time so that Sonic can save Elise before the egg carrier launches. He does so after one last boss fight with Eggman, and his story ends. Meanwhile, Silver and Blaze travel back to the future in their Chaos Emerald-powered DeLorean to finish off Iblis once and for all. I will note that the place they end up in is the Flame Core, which means that the Flame Core sprung up over the ruins of Kingdom Valley. Saying that though, when Mephiles cast Shadow and Rouge into the future from Kingdom Valley, they end up in the Doctor's base, which was in the White Acropolis, but how did they get back to— my head hurts even more now. So Silver and Blaze find and defeat Iblis, and Silver tries to seal him inside his own soul. However, Iblis won't accept him as a vessel, so Blaze offers to do it, because her powers revolve around fire, so I guess it kinda makes sense. She then tells Silver to seal her into another dimension, which he can't do because they apparently had some kind of unbreakable bond that the audience never saw. She does it herself, and Silver is left behind, distraught at having saved the future but lost his best friend in the process. This ends Silver's story. Now, the whole Blaze being sealed in a different dimension could explain why she's from a different dimension in Sonic Rush, because there's no saying whether or not the 2 dimensions would follow the same timeline, meaning that she could have ended up in the Soul dimension, you know, maybe become queen by assassinating the existing monarch and then travel back to the real world during Sonic Rush.
That wouldn't explain why she had no memory of Sonic, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so maybe it's just better to say that Sonic Rush never happened. It's not canon. I've been saying that about a lot of Sonic games lately. Back in Shadow's story, Team Dark regroup and go after Mephiles, but Omega reveals that the one who captures and seals Shadow in the future is him. And not because he was programmed to, but through his own choice. Rouge tells Shadow that even if the whole world turns their back on him, she will always remain by his side. The team track down Mephiles at Dusty Desert, where he tries to convince Shadow to join him again. Shadow is having none of it because he's smart enough to realise that Mephiles is an evil prick, and the team fight him one last time. They tried to seal him in the scepter, but apparently Mephiles absorbed some of Shadow's power when he incarnated himself, meaning that the scepter no longer works. He tries to demoralise Shadow by reminding him yet again that the world will only betray him, but Shadow removes his inhibitor rings and unleashes his full power, defeating Mephiles in a flash of gold light and ending his story. So that's all 3 stories in their entirety, which then leads on to the final chapter. Before we do that though, I just want to comment on the stories themselves. Sonic's story is by far the worst because it's basically the plot of a Mario game with a couple of things thrown in. His involvement in the main plot is quite minimal considering it's supposed to be about him. In fact, the best story is probably Shadow's, so in my opinion what they probably should have done is scrap that other game that shall remain nameless and make this one about Shadow. That would warrant the pathetic excuse for a plot given to Sonic as well as eliminate all that bullshit inconsequential moral choice stuff. I think what the developers probably had in mind was more along the lines of Sonic Adventure 3, and to be honest, I'll give it credit for its ambition. They at least tried to put in an interesting story, but I think this game is probably what made them give up on that formula and revert back to something simpler, which explains why all the games after this one have extremely simple plots. So let's finish this story then. Shadow defeats Mephiles, but he somehow escapes yet again because he's slipperier than a bar of soap and gathers all the remaining Chaos Emeralds in what I assume to be the space of about an hour. He then locates Sonic, who, bear in mind, he hasn't interacted with this entire story. Sonic doesn't even know who Mephiles is, but before he can introduce himself, Mephiles stabs Sonic in the back. Elise, for some reason, doesn't think this is all that amusing and starts bawling her eyes out. So Iblis is released and Mephiles uses the Chaos Emeralds to recombine with him, creating Solaris once more. He then tears apart the fabric of space-time and destroys the universe, conveniently transporting all the characters to Soliana. Yep, forget Sonic Adventure 2's whole world destruction thing. Mephiles broke the freaking space-time continuum. So Elise tells everyone that she senses Sonic's presence and that they might be able to bring Sonic back with the Chaos Emeralds. Either that or she wants to engage in some necrophilia, but either way, the characters split up to search for the Chaos Emeralds across all the locations we saw previously, all the while avoiding these rips in space-time that suck you in and insta-kill you if you touch them. They use the Emeralds to bring Sonic back to life in a super form, and he turns Shadow and Silver super as well. The three defeat Solaris and the day is saved. Well, almost. Sonic uses Chaos Control one final time to transport him and Elise back to where it all began with the Eternal Flame. Elise says,
I don't care what happens to the world.
So they blow out the flame, creating an alternate universe where this story never happened. Yeah, what confuses me about this is that Sonic seems to remember the adventure, but Elise doesn't. Why? Whatever, that's the story. We've already wasted enough time on that.